Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Carly. Today we're going to talk about blocks. If you're sitting there thinking, please God, not that, please give me a second. I know a lot of people associate block play with being painful, messy, and loud. And I'm right there with you. But we're going to talk a little bit about how to fix that, and I'm also going to tell you the benefits of block play. So stick with me. First of all, I would say specify different containers for different blocks. So I'm going to show you just a little bit here. I have this container. I got it on Amazon. These are awesome, by the way. I use them for a lot of different things. But it's a shoebox container, and I have a couple different types of blocks in here. I will show you these blocks in just a little bit. And then I have a couple boxes where I don't always get these ones out, but whenever I do get them out, I have them out for a little bit. If you save pretzel containers like this, they're great. They're clear and they have a lid so you can see what's in them, and you can switch them out pretty easily that way if you have multiple types of blocks. All right. Whenever I say it that way, I'm saying it purposefully because I want you to, not always, if your kid hasn't learned how to clean up yet, only start with one type of block. That is totally fine. But whenever they're starting to learn that, then allow for multiple types of builders, and I said that purposefully also, per instruction at a time. So 2 to 3, you don't need to have 6 different types of builders out every single time. That's a lot, and I understand that. So I'm going to show you some different ones that I have, and I'm going to get into what you can do with all of these. So these, I really wish I remember their name, but it's just a type of builder that I found, and I think it's really neat. You can build with them all sorts of different ways. I can make an inverse pyramid, right? I can flip it over. If I really want to get fancy, sometimes I do, I can build it in a different way. There are really endless possibilities for blocks. The reason for that, these are phone blocks while I'm talking to you about it. The reason for that is because blocks do not represent one thing. Children can use their creativity to create anything and make their own little world using blocks. So I'm just showing you a few different types. These are just some foam blocks here. These are magnetic tiles. You probably can find these, not just probably, you can find these anywhere. I know when I went into Walmart last time, they had a bunch of them there, and they're pretty cool. They magnetize together, and you can build different structures from them in that way. So there are a lot of different ways you can build with that. I know my students really like to make a lot of different types of buildings with them. And I really personally like them at wintertime because the kids pretend that they're ice. Yay, ice. This one I'm not gonna get out because, oh boy, I just bought this one and I'm really excited about it. This is Construct-A-Fort, and I wish I could find a couple more of these. I'm going to have to look online because I would like to make a bigger set, but you can see there are different ways that you can build different forts. Other things that I like to use in the classroom are I'm looking at my notes, so sorry for that. The cardboard blocks that look like they have bricks on them. Those can get very difficult to store, but you can do that. The wooden blocks, they're heavy. So what I always do is I have this rule where I say it's no taller than the shortest person's head, because if those blocks come tumbling down, there's more of a chance of it hitting someone in the head. If it's taller than your head, it must be chin or below. And I think that seems to help a lot. So let's talk about the benefits of block play. Measurement is the first thing that I can think of. You can obviously do the simple thing where you just measure your body's height or your shoe or something, but let's talk about it in a more realistic sense. You can use it, I've seen a little boy use it this way and it was really cool. I watched him on video, and I was I was videoing for a class that I was taking at one time. So he built a structure, and then he wanted to build stairs. So he had to keep measuring to make sure that his stairs fit with his structure that he made. It can be an early introduction to fractions, which I will show you now. Wishing I had a square block out. So you can see that this is 2/3 of this, and they put a block this way. Let's pretend it's square. Work with me here, guys. If it was squared, you could see that 3 of the square blocks would equal 1 of these longer blocks, right? So it's an early introduction to fractions without them even realizing it. You can learn greater than, less than, and equal to whenever you're building structures beside each other. Or even if you're looking at 2 blocks beside each other, ooh, this one is bigger than the orange one. So you can talk about size differences, which is great for those really early learners. Physics, it's a great introduction to early physics. How tall until it falls, right? So you can build your tower, and a lot of kids, you're gonna see it in your classrooms and your homes. They're gonna build with one type of block, and they're gonna build it linear, and they're going to keep going until it topples over, right? To help with that noise, by the way, because I know it drives some people nuts, foam blocks are great for that. You notice that you didn't even hear it. Also, put a rug under wherever your child is playing, and it softens it so much. Another thing that's great about it, you can have them practice their strength in their build. Whenever I did this, it wasn't very strong. However, if I would do something more like this, where I put 2 together and then 1 on top, it makes it a lot stronger because I have a wider base. And even though kids might not be using that vocabulary on their own, they are learning that just by playing with them. It's teamwork to create a unified structure. I've done this in class before, where I take away everything from my block station except 1 tub of blocks. So whenever you do that 1 tub of blocks, the kids have to work together, and they have to share, they have to take turns, and they have to make one structure. And that's usually the parameter I give them. I'm like, okay, you can work together, but you have to make one thing. Something I usually notice, because 4 and 5-year-olds are still a little bit egocentric, and I'm not saying that in a mean way, it's just a true psychological term for what that is. They are focused on what they can build. So whenever I've done this in the past, I had one kid building a castle with some stairs, I had a kid building a boat, and I had another kid building, I forget what it was, a car or something like that. And then I came back to them and I said, okay, but what are you doing to make it one thing? And so then they decided it was a city, and they ended up adding so much more to the city because they were working together. Fine motor skills. If you get the little bitty Lego, and fun fact, I learned that Lego is singular and plural. So to all of my Lego lovers out there, I'm sorry if I've ever put an S on it. I'm sorry if I do it here now, because it's such a habit that has been built into my mind. So if you get a bunch of the little Lego, those bricks, you can really work on that fine motor skill, because they have to use that pincer grip to get them and to put the pieces together. Even if it's a younger child, and oh, I didn't bring my big blocks in, that's okay. We have the bigger mega blocks that are like, I don't know, about that big, and they're pretty big. So like they're for ages 1 and up, I believe. And then there are the medium-sized ones, which honestly are about like this size and a little bit smaller even. So you can build on their fine motor skills through block play. And it makes them balance things, because a lot of kids will just start building it and they're not really looking, And ooh, did you see how it started wobbling? They're not perfectly lined up. So if they're trying to get really right, they're having to use those tiny little muscles. And that's going to be great for them for writing, for holding, for tying shoes in the future, all sorts of different things. So you want to work on those little fine motor skills. Again, blocks are so open-ended. They don't represent just one thing. So you can have some really organic creativity from your child using these. Sometimes I would say to play with your children, and sometimes let them play alone. Why is that? Because whenever we play with children, oftentimes it ceases to be true play. And I don't want to say don't play with your children, because that is not the point of this. Please don't take that away and say, oh, Mrs. Carly said not to play with my kid. That's not correct. Whenever you start playing with your child, though, you tend to ask more educational questions, which can be really great work. So you want to have that in there sometimes, and other times you want to back out and just observe, listen to what they're talking about. Even children who are only children and they don't have someone else to play with, they're going to sit there and they're going to talk while they're playing, because that's what kids do. They just start talking and they're making a story up as they go. So like I said, sometimes you can play with them, and then maybe you can ask them a leading question like, hey, you know what? I noticed that your tower keeps falling down. What can we do to make it stronger? Other times, back out completely. See if they get that information on their own. There's a good balance between playing with them sometimes and backing out sometimes. And if they need help, let them know, hey, it's okay to ask for help, because mommy or daddy, whoever it is playing, right here, okay? Let me see here, because I don't want to miss anything. Oh, things that I like to add whenever I am doing block play in my classroom or wherever. And when I say this, I want to back up a second. I don't say block play just to mean blocks. Like I said, you can use other builders. I've used couch cushions before. Super fun. Okay, they're gonna love that. But you can make forts by adding sheets. You can make a whole world by adding small animals or other dolls or little toys to it. You can use little cars. You can add small balls and they can create ramps. Get creative. You're only limited by your imagination for what materials you can add to the blocks. Let your children decide at times what materials to use, and other times you choose and make it a challenge for them. Say, oh, what can you make if you have this toy mouse and these Lego blocks? I say that because my 3-year-old and I spent some time building a block house for a mouse. It was a cat's toy that she took from the cat, and she was very serious about building it a little mouse house. So, you know, you can kind of guide the play sometimes, and other times let them choose and let them be completely creative. Like I said, there's no real answer to that. There are benefits and drawbacks to both, and I think that it's good that you're playing with them, and I think it's good whenever you let them play on their own and make them think on their own too. So if you can just comment below what your favorite way to use blocks would be, that would be awesome. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you all.